Alright, what's up guys, right here, my last deck profile for now. One Pencil Koala as my starter for Great Nature with the kitty cats. 4 heals. 4 Ruler Chameleon crits. And the rest are just crits. I mean, they don't particularly matter at that point. Ruler Chameleon's the one with the skill. For now. 12 crit because you draw like crazy. You don't. I mean, I definitely see the merit in running draw triggers for the early game because your early game is terrible. But if you can at least get to the point of being able to stride, your Chatnor being your heart is actually pretty good. Especially since you can search out your 3s now with this guy, the Japanese cat. He basically is like a duckbill, but instead of drawing a card, you search a 3, which is kind of cool. So it searches any 3. So depending on what deck you're playing, you know, you get what you need for this deck. You're pretty much getting your fox, so you can break ride and do stuff. And then still running 3 duckbills, since you don't need 4, since you have the other cat that is more or less a duckbill too, for depending on the situation you are in. And then 3 mini berries. Needs to get a signed version like the other ones from set 1. Needs to be a thing.
It's true.
They should just have every single one full art signed.
It's true. Bushiroad, please make this
Bushiroad, please. 4G perfect guards because you kill your own front row depending on what you're playing against. So if you're playing against like D please, you just hit your front row or the cross, so you can just perfect guard anyway. So that's pretty good. And then unclipping is nice, especially since this deck actually burns through counterblast a lot more than the other build, but even then it's not so bad. And I still like Taping Cat. Good for the early game, mid game, maybe late game depending, because if you get stuck riding something like a mate, you can still blast it out and then get another card. And speaking of mates, still running the Fox Legion, so 4 mates. Amazing combo. You can refer back to that video if you want to go through that. I'm not going to go into that again. 3 Crayon Tigers. Fantastic card. Would say run 4 depending on how you play the deck. It's fantastic. It's up to preference. The grade 2s are really wonky because I'm still having trouble deciding what is best for the deck, because like Set Square, it's an unflipper and kind of like a duckbill by GB1, so it's kind of nice in that fact, but other than that it's vanilla. So like I see people like, oh yeah, just run these for the Chatnor deck, yeah, it unflips damage, great, but other than that it literally doesn't do anything. It's like having a Crayon Tiger that only works once ever. So that's a downside to it. So I decided to try the Tapirs, or I guess Binoculus. I really would prefer Binoculus in most cases. I mean, Resist is great, unless you're playing against Diablo, then you have some issues. But then you'd probably be working around that anyway. But the reason why I'm running that is to trigger this. I mean duckbill too, but more specifically this, because you'd want this to go off so you can get your 3 if that's the whole situation you're in. Lacking a 3, especially Chatnor, because you really want to go into Chatnor first. But yeah, that's the grade 2s. No more Pencil Knights, unfortunately, because you kind of have to manage your counterblast a lot more. So 4 Chatnor because you're running the Break Ride and the G unit, so you might as well have max copies. And then 4 Testers because it technically is a persona in a sense, and you're running the Legion, you want to have as much chances as you can. And then to the G zone, this is probably gonna change, but for now we're going with it. 2 of the Chatnor Shred. It's usually only needed to be strode once when you're on Chatnor, and then you just use this skill as much as you can, and then you try to soak up damage to go to limit break and break ride, and then just go back into the Phoenix shenanigans. But there's 2 for now. We'll probably replace 1 for a Monogarmer to run 4. So then there's 3 Phoenixes. Basically the strategy go into before you want to finish them off. You just plus really hard with the Fox Legion combo. So then there's the 2 Monarch armors. Your finisher would probably up this to 4 now, because you actually don't need to sit on this and pray for your life, because you have the Chat Nor now who can do stuff. And then because we don't have all the cool fancy stuff, there's still a Buzza in there. I don't know if you ever really need it because of the way this deck is, but if you run out of Monogamers and you just really want to push for that end game, you can just go for Buzza. But other than that, I wouldn't even suggest running this, and probably change up the G-Zone a bit, but it's working right now. I've never had that point where I needed a second Monogamer really, but it still would be really nice to have just to try to finish people quicker. And that's the entire deck. See you guys later.